What's up, it's Cinema Shogun here, and I have a little question for all of you all. Why is it that every time there's a big news story, every time a new traumatic event unfolds, why is it that all of these traumatic events are always surrounded by these weird coincidences? Why is that? As someone who has covered my fair share of traumatic events over the past few years, from crowd crushes at concerts to train derailment, chemical spills, wildfires, and terror attacks, even though all of these situations and events are totally different from each other, they all have one small thing in common, and that is that these stories, these events are always surrounded by weird coincidences. Coincidences that make you question if any of this stuff is happening naturally. And honestly, it's gotten to the point that I know a lot of people question if this stuff is even happening at all. Now, I can confirm that most of this stuff is happening, but I'll be honest with you all. A lot of this stuff does not look like it's naturally happening to me. A lot of this stuff looks like it was planned. A lot of this stuff looks like, there was some effort involved to make sure that these events are worse than they have to be. There's always these coincidences that just make you question what is really going on. And this situation over in Israel is no different. Now, a lot of people have been talking about this music festival that was in Israel. During this music festival, Hamas paraglided into the music festival. They started killing people and kidnapping people, and a lot of people were questioning, why was there a music festival right on the border of Israel and Gaza? It seems like a weird place to have a music festival, right? I thought the same thing. And watching as these people who were just out there dancing start to get mowed down by terrorists, it was really sad. It was It was something that I have images in my mind that I can no longer erase. You know what I mean? It's one of those situations, but it's also something that I began to question from the first moment that the first videos started making their ways online. Now I have learned, or I learned this a couple of days ago, that this event, this little rave, this little party, this music festival actually changed venues 2 days before this attack happened at this festival. Now that is a strange coincidence. One of those coincidences that I was just talking about. There are people, young people, mainly young women, from all around the world that attended this festival. They bought tickets in advance. They were promised that they were going to have a wonderful, beautiful view at this music festival. They bought tickets, they traveled to Israel. And then it just so happens that 2 days before this event, 2 days before this music festival takes place, they decide to change venues from this place with this amazing, beautiful view to the middle of the desert right on the border of Gaza. So we have people on one side of the fence who are hungry. They don't have a lot of food. They don't have a lot of water. A lot of them are living without electricity. And then on the other side of the fence, we have people dancing, twirling around in circles while high on psychedelics, partying in Israel. This was always a recipe for disaster. But the question is, why did this venue change right before this attack? Is this just another one of those weird coincidences? I think that at some point, everyone reaches this point on their own. But for me, it's like at a certain point, there just started to be too many coincidences. And that's when I started questioning basically any and everything happening in the world. You know, I've always believed that anything can happen. And if there's one thing that life has taught me, it's that shit happens. It really does. And you know, I believe in coincidences. But I feel like they've pushed things too far at this point. Like, I believe that a coincidence can happen. But when it gets to the point that you want us to believe that it's just a coincidence, that all of these weird coincidences always surround these traumatic coincidences, that's when there is one too many coincidences, introduced into the equation. And that's when you really just start to have to question things. Because one coincidence, okay. But then, so it's just a coincidence that all of these weird coincidences are surrounding these coincidences that keep happening. You know what I mean? It gets to a point where it's overkill. It gets to a point where, like, it's gotten to the point where I feel like these folks just feel like they can tell us anything and get away with anything. Now, as far as this situation goes with this music festival in Israel, sure, maybe it's just another one of those weird coincidences surrounding a traumatic coincidence. But with all of the other things going on in the world and the fact that there seems to be a pattern, I'm starting to notice the pattern of coincidences surrounding all of these stories. It really makes me question things. Like, I want to go ahead and read this for you. The Supernova Sukkot Gathering was a weekend-long outdoor trance music festival that began on October 6th, 2023. It took place in the western Negev Desert, right along the Gaza-Israel barrier. It was produced by an organizer called Nova. The gathering was the Israeli edition of the Universo Paralelo, a psytrance festival that originated in Brazil. According to the organizer, the site was booked only 2 days before the festival after the original location in southern Israel backed out. Scheduled to coincide with the Jewish festival, the rave was billed as a celebration of friends, love, and infinite freedom. The festival site had 3 stages, a camping zone, and an area with bars and food. So it just so happens, right before this terrorist attack that takes place at this music festival, a venue pulls out. A venue pulls out and refuses to have this music festival 2 days before the music festival. This is something that has been planned months and months and months in advance. People were flying from other countries. People already had their tickets. Why would a venue pull out 2 days before the event? Why would they want to lose out on that much money? This isn't a house party that someone just decided to have overnight. This is a big music festival, like the ones we have in America. Venues don't pull out 2 days before the event. Did this venue pull out because they got word or they heard rumblings that something was supposed to happen that day? Because we've heard that Israel was possibly warned that something was going to happen soon. And if you ask me, I find it hard to believe that Israel and America, neither one of them knew that something was possibly going to happen. Israel has spies all over the Middle East. Israel has spies all over Gaza, the most secure border in the world. Listening devices all around Gaza, all around the border. Armed patrols. People literally get shot sometimes for walking too close to the border wall. Meanwhile, these people plowed right through it and flew air gliders over it. But 2 days, such little notice. They took this large music festival, venue pulls out, and then they find another venue within 2 days. They're able to set up the bars, the little restaurants. They're able to get the tents together, the porta potties, on such short notice. And out of everywhere in Israel that this music festival took place, it just so happened to be right in the area, right across the barrier, right where Hamas started landing their hang gliders, right where Hamas infiltrated through the border. Now that is one hell of a coincidence. That is some bad luck right there, right? At least that's what we're supposed to believe. Now, I'm not telling you what to believe. And to be clear with you all, I don't even know what to believe sometimes anymore. But I will say that I think it's important that we take note of all of these coincidences. Because surely some of these may be coincidences, but some of these I think are signs. I think some of these are just showing you what's really happening. Some of these coincidences are just letting you know what's really going on. But one thing I do know for certain, we can all rest assured that they're never, ever going to tell us the truth about any of this stuff. So if I were you in this day and age, just be a little more aware. You know, if you have tickets booked to a music festival and they change the venue at the last second from some beautiful place with a beautiful view to one of the most dangerous spots on earth, maybe you should second think. Maybe you should consider not going, okay? But for now, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I will talk to you all soon in the next video.